It's Terry Bossons show for a Friday. Going over to Skype now to cross the pond to the US of A to chat to singer, teacher, songwriter, actor, director Thomas G. Wade. Hello, Thomas. How are you doing?
Hey, Terry, how are you? Hello to Stoke. I'm stoked to talk to Stoke.
We're stoked to have you talking to Stoke today, Thomas. I've said all those things that you do. Have you ever thought of throwing them all together in one project?
I'm working on that. I'm actually, Terry, thinking of doing a production of Brendan Behan's The Hostage, where I would play Pat, who is actually a stand-in for Brendan Behan. And he sings and he talks and he acts and he kind of does the whole show, doesn't he? So that would be interesting. And I'm working on trying to coalesce a number of things, because I can't help myself. I just have to do all this stuff. I just have so much energy and so much drive, that it's got to go somewhere.
Yes, you use all that energy. When was the last time you came over to the UK? Because you're coming over here to do Stoke-on-Trent and to have a look around.
The last time I was there is, I'm going to say 1996. I went over there to do research on Dylan Thomas. Yeah, I was writing a play about Dylan Thomas and William Faulkner. Did you know that they knew each other, Dylan Thomas and William Faulkner?
I know now, I didn't before.
Yeah, they met in a bar and got completely trashed together. And but I was researching Dylan Thomas, and so I went to London, and then from London I went up to I went over to Wales, and then I went back, and I thought, well, since I'm over there, I may as well see Ireland. I went up to Dublin, Wexford, and I saw the greatest theater in London. It was just wonderful. But I've never been where you are.
You are in for a treat.
Are you north? Are you north of London?
We're Midlands, in between Birmingham and Manchester, smack bang in the middle.
You're closer to Manchester?
It's about the same. Stoke to Birmingham, Stoke to Manchester.
And of course, the Smiths come from Manchester, and they're like one of the great forces in contemporary music. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, totally. Were they as big in America as they were over here?
Yes, the Smiths were big in America. They still are big in America. There's a kind of nihilism, if you will, in the music because of what they were seeing, and they took that urban blight, I guess, lack of a better word, because I haven't been there, I haven't seen it, but they took that depression and they turned it into this beautiful music. Johnny Marr has to be. I'm so glad I'm coming there because I got to investigate both he and Morrissey. Hey, what a guitar player. What a musician.
Yes, for sure. So, Thomas, you've been in so many TV shows and films, including one of my favourites of all time, The Warriors. How did that come about?
Okay, so turn back the hands of time to 1978, and it was, I guess, around April that they came into town looking for. Back in those days, they would actually, as bizarre as this may sound, they would do movies and they would seek out unknowns. Now every breakdown you look at is known names only. Names only, please apply. Please don't submit unless they're names. Whatever name is, I mean. But back then, the 70s was such a beautiful, fertile time. They were seeking out people. You would never have had the Al Pacinos, Dustin Hoffmans, Robert De Niro. You would never have discovered these guys unless the studios at the time were interested in discovering unknowns. So it's a completely. So I was an unknown actor. I had done a couple of movies. I did a movie called On the Yard that starred John Hurd, and a lot of character actors were in it. It was directed by Ray Silver. So I had done that film, and I had done a film for PBS about the Revolutionary War, and I think I'd done maybe 2 professional plays. And so I was submitted for the Warriors and a movie called The Wanderers, and I was offered both of them at the same time. I had to audition for the Warriors 4 times, as I recall. Since that time, they've changed the rules and regulations in SAG where they can only call you back 3 times, and if they call you back a 4th time, they have to pay you. Of course, it's about $10, but they have to pay you something. And because I remember the 4th time I had to go in with Deborah von Valkenburg, who ended up playing Mercy, and we had to have a private conference with the director and the producer, and it was interesting because, you know, it was between me and one other person with regard to the Warriors. And the Wanderers, Philip Kaufman said, look, don't take that movie because I'm going to ask you to do my movie. And I was a young kid. I didn't quite know what to do. And so I took the Warriors, which as fate would have it, I ended up getting fired from.
Yes, you did.
You know, I have no one to blame but myself. I was a sort of difficult lad. And, I mean, I don't know. Did he have to fire me? He could have given me a warning. I would have straightened up, I'm sure. I mean, I'm a good Catholic boy. You slapped me upside the head, I would have said, okay, I'm sorry, sister. But, you know, he wanted to make a statement, I guess. I was a bit arrogant. I questioned a lot of his decisions. And, you know, we had a couple of meetings before we started shooting, and I thought we were making a different movie. I didn't know it was going to be so focused, so violent, right? It was so violent, and we were shooting it. I was into it. I don't know. I think I shot 7 or 8 weeks. And I kept saying, wait a minute, where's the movie that we... And he didn't like it. And he was behind schedule and over budget. And first they fired the first AD. That's usually the first person to go if you're behind schedule. They blame that guy, because he's the one that's responsible for the set. And then, you know, they wanted to make an example of me. And so they called my agent and they said, they don't want you to come back. And then they got one of the grips and they put a vest on him and they pushed him in front of the train. And that was the end of the Fox. So I took my name off of the film because, you know, after they cut the film, they're like, okay, you know, it was supposed to be, you were supposed to have top billing. But now, you know, you're not in it as much. So where do you think your name should be? Which was a fair question, you know, but again, my arrogance and, you know, my anger were just in my way as a young man. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why I'm a teacher today, is I can help young people with their anger to try to keep from misplacing it. You know, it's all right on stage, it's all right in the movies, but in life, anger, in bed even, it's all right, but not with people in business.
You mentioned getting fired for the film, but you weren't taken out of the film. Sometimes when actors get sacked, they get replaced, and that other actor is never heard of again, but you were actually still in the film.
Yeah, I think much to Walter's chagrin, I was still in so much of the movie that they couldn't get rid of me without going back and reshooting the whole thing. And he was already so far over budget and so far behind schedule. And, you know, I have since made amends with Walter, which I'm happy to proclaim, because I am truly sorry about both my behavior on the set. It was uncalled for. There's no reason to act like the way that I did. I was difficult, you know, button your vest. No, I don't want to. You know, come on, get to this. I did things I wish I hadn't done. And we all have, I guess, right?
And Fox was meant to be the main character originally. Is that true?
Yes, he was supposed to be the main character. I was supposed to fall in love with Mercy.
So it could have been a whole different story. You became good mates with Al Pacino. What is he like? I know he's got the same passion for theatre as you.
Yeah, Al is, he's a character, you know. First of all, he's a very shy and reserved, quiet, and he's watching and listening, you know, much like Michael Corleone in The Godfather. He's always watching and listening and evaluating, you know. Personally, privately, he's a really sensitive man. He opens up gradually, slowly. But we were very close at one, very close. We shared a lot of deep friendship together, I feel. And of course, on stage, he is one of the great American actors. And let me tell you something: being on stage with him is like touching live electricity. I mean, the man is a force.
How amazing that must have been. And working with Al and some of the other greats you've worked with in TV and film, you can sort of use those experiences to teach because you've got your own acting school.
Yeah, I absolutely can and do. And I'll tell you, I rent a small theater over on 44th Street and 9th Avenue, and the guy that runs the theater came up to me just last night, as a matter of fact, and he said, I got to tell you something. Not only are your students the most talented that come through here, and this place sees hundreds of people every day, but they're also the nicest people. They're the most respectful. And that, to me, that's worth its weight in gold. If I can train people to be both ethical and kind and brilliant, then I feel like I'm doing my job,
And you have a few success stories as well from your teaching.
Yeah, I've had Vinnie Pastore, who played Big Pussy in The Sopranos. Catherine Narducci played the wife of the restaurant owner, Johnny. I can't remember her character's name. She's done very well. Alfred Molina was a student of mine. Jamie Harris, Richard Harris's son, was a student of mine. Tim Guinea was a student of mine. I've had a lot of really good people come through, and more coming through all the time that are doing things. It's an honor to be a teacher. I'm grateful that I have the capacity to do so, and it is just something I was born with. I'm a natural born teacher. Yeah.
That sounds like a Tarantino film set in a school. And you make music, beautiful music. Is that something you do parallel with the acting and the teaching, or is it something you do separately?
I try to do it, first of all, I've been writing and playing. I actually was in a Broadway musical with Deborah Harry when I was a kid. It was a piece of garbage. I mean, the thing almost closed at intermission. Literally, the stage manager came back and said, "Oh, hold on, you might have to go back out." It was pretty bad. And
what's Debbie Harry like?
Oh, she's brilliant. Oh my God. Watching her sing was a lesson in rock and roll, and such a sweet gal. I developed a huge crush. I fell in love with her. Forget crush. I fell madly in love. Followed her around like a puppy dog for 10 weeks. Well, she's amazing. She's a phenomenon.
Without a doubt. So where do you draw inspiration from when you're writing music?
Yeah, my ex-wife, Lisa Greenberg, she broke my heart, really broke it. And the great thing about that is that I tried to take that suffering and heartbreak and turn it into something beautiful. And that's where the CD's title comes from, Sweet Darkness. That sometimes, you get really down in this life. Things don't work out. Divorce is a horrible word. Relationships, they just don't work for whatever reasons. And ours in particular, we were married for 12 years, divorced for 13, then we got back together for 3, and then it still didn't work, right? And so the process of that heartbreak, instead of, driving myself crazy and drinking myself to death, I thought, let me try to use this to, first of all, the first part of the CD, it's almost like, the first song anyway, Angel of Light, is sort of celebrating her. The second song is about someone very close to me that I won't mention, that has a drug and alcohol problem. And the third song is about her, also about celebrating her. And then the last three songs are kind of dedicated to the fact that it didn't work, and that darkness that we go into as a result of suffering. Sometimes it can be sweet. Sometimes the darkness can be sweet and nourishing if you can find a way to make it work for you. And that's what drives me with the music. And I feel like I'm getting better. I figured out that song, There Is the Light. It took me a few tries, but I got it down pretty good now because I have a music teacher. I study music as well.
And what about acting, Thomas? Is there anything you're working on at the moment?
No, right now I'm focused on theater. I did a play this fall off Broadway called Austin, which is about a middle-aged man who's a recovering drug addict that discovers he's homosexual. So I had to make out with a guy on stage. That was acting, and that was pretty good. And now I'm preparing to put together a production of The Hostage, as I mentioned to you, for this summer. And I'm still auditioning for things and putting things together. I'm sure I'll book something eventually. I've done tons of Law and Orders. I've done a lot of TV, which I enjoy television. It's a different beast. It's different than doing a film. Film, you have a lot more time. I mean, you have to consider an average film shoots 3 1/8 pages a day, right? TV, it's 10 to 12 pages a day. It's a different animal. And I enjoy that fast pace. I can adapt to that. I can work. I'm flexible. I can move quickly. I learn quickly. I'm the first one to memorize his lines. I don't get slower as I get older. I get faster, Terry.
Age well like a fine wine. Well, thank you very much for coming on the phone. We look forward to you coming over to Stoke and seeing us all.
I look forward to meeting you, Terry.
Pleasure will be all mine. Thank you very much.
Thanks a million, Terry. You have a great day, lad.